Welcome to today's session about inspiring leadership stories, where we look at leadership and self-leadership through various lenses by sharing very inspiring stories of coaches, mentors, and experts from across the globe. And today I'm very excited because I am welcoming Tanya Dotson-Winckler from Puerto Rico. Tanya, welcome. It's great to have you here. Could you please briefly introduce yourself? Who is Tanya? Where exactly do you live and what do you do?
Okay, well, thank you, Fabienne, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. My name, as you said, is Tanya Dotson-Winckler. I am American, but I have been an expat for over 30 years. I left the United States in 1989. I lived in Copenhagen, Denmark for 30 of those years, and I have a year ago relocated to Puerto Rico, Luquillo Beach, Puerto Rico. And, I am a small business owner. I have been a small business owner since 1999. So I haven't received a paycheck since then. And that really describes who I am. Yeah, because I remember the idea of that was just like, I'm college educated. I graduated from Princeton University with a degree in psychology. I got a master's from New York University in organizational development, right? Community and organizational development. And that's how I started along this leadership path, right? So I had jobs up until 1999. And that's when I, threw my hat over the wall and followed it. And I've never looked back. So, I'm a risk taker. I'm an adventurer. I remember my mother saying, I don't know anyone like you that can just move from the United States, go relocate in Denmark, learn the language, become fluent in the language, work in the language, right? And she's like, she had to look up Denmark in the encyclopedia when I told her where I was going. She's like, I've never, and most people ask me that, oh yeah, Denmark, the capital of Sweden. No, no.
Fantastic, Tanya. Yeah, I became self-employed in '95, so I know what it is and how it is. And by the way, what did your previous jobs, bosses, and life teach you about self-leadership and leadership?
That I can work with someone, but I cannot work for someone.
Oh, how interesting.
That's the biggest difference that I've learned over these years, because I have collaborated, like I'm collaborating with you right now. I have also collaborated with business partners. I have collaborated with organizations where I've developed, done leadership development and organizational development. So I'm well capable of working with executives. I've been an executive coach, for 25 years. So, I know I can work with executives, but what my very short career as an employee taught me is that I cannot be working for someone who doesn't look for collaboration or doesn't look for contribution. If someone is just, telling me, put this widget here, or I'm trying to remember, I had one really, really good job. That was my first job out of college. And probably because I didn't know any better, but I was working as a psychosocial counselor, and my immediate boss was pretty cool. The regional boss was a jerk. And I had to bump heads with him. And that was one of those lessons. Like, he wanted me to do something that went against my core values. And I was like, I'm not doing that. Wow. And then, he tried to come after me and everything, and I had to kind of put him in his place. And yeah, so I was at that job for 3 years. I loved the job because I loved working with the people. These were people that had psychosocial issues that had, we were a halfway house. So they had just been hospitalized. So they were with us when they were too well to be in hospital, but not well enough to be in the community yet. And I just loved that job. I had so much fun. I was young, so I was 27. So they gave me all the young people. And I just, had a blast learning what had happened with these people. I found it fascinating. They were interesting. I was able to help some people. There was one person that was put there, what's the word? Just because she was gay. And, and I happen to be gay. And, normally when you're in a counseling or a counseling situation, you don't share about yourself. You don't share about your personal life. But in that situation, I could see what was going on. It had been my biggest fear in life, that I was going to be put in a mental institution, because back in the early 80s and early 70s in the United States, you could be put away. So when I saw what had happened to her, I pulled her aside. I said, there's nothing wrong with you. Get your ass through this program, get yourself out into the community, and I never want to see you again. And she came back 2 years later. She was a professional musician. She was working on Broadway. She had moved out of her mother's house, and she pinched my butt.
That's such a beautiful story, Tanya. And by the way, you just said that, the boss of your boss was a jerk. Now, I'm very curious to know. And by the way, you also said something extremely interesting about core values. So I can't wait to ask you questions about it. But let's take one step back. Why was that person such a bad leadership example? Or, I mean, why was it a bad leadership experience for you?
Because at that time in the United States, the type of background that I had was intimidating to some, what we're going to call them, non-millionated people, white people. And this guy was Italian, and he was short, and he was, had a little bit of a Napoleonic complex. And here I come, fresh out of Princeton. And I've got, all these degrees behind me, and I've got, and I'm new, I'm out there and I'm new. And I actually was doing the graduate program at NYU as a fellow while I was working at this job. And it was just too much for him. He was like, no, you got to go. You're just too much yourself. And I was out. That was another thing, to be an out gay person in 1987 in the United States, that could have cost you your job, right? In some states, yeah.
Yes.
And so he just didn't like me. He didn't like who I was as a person, which I had met many times. Being an out gay Black woman, it's like I tick all the boxes, right? So if you don't like any of those things, you're really not going to like me. So he had an issue with one of those things. I never really found out which one it was, but one of those things, he was just after me all the time. He was just, trying to denigrate my work. He tried to slander me, and he was just, he was quite unpleasant.
My God. And how did it impact your identity, or maybe your career, or your well-being, and maybe even your family?
Back then, like I said, I was 27, straight out of school. I was full of beans. So it just made me tougher, and it made me quite an adversary. When I had, at one point I had to call a meeting, and I called a meeting with my immediate supervisor, and with him, and with the head of the program. And I'm trained, I know what to do. So I put him on the other side of the desk, and I was behind the desk, and I set the room up to my advantage. And he came in and he saw it immediately. He was so pissed, because it was like, look, I'm not afraid of you, and I'm not going to put up with this, and this is going to go my way. So, for that meeting, it was great, but eventually it just it wore on me, and I had to, find another job. But I had a really good, my first 2.5 years there were awesome. They were really awesome. It was the last 6 months where I had to deal with that, where I thought, okay, I guess that's it. That was this run. It was a good run predominantly. And then, you got these little power mad, hungry people that don't have any, sort of background or anything to back it up. And you're not even saying anything but about your background. You're just being it. right? You're just showing up and you're competent and you're poised and you know what you're doing. And if you don't know, you ask and you learn. I learned an awful lot on that job. And, you know, one of the things I learned was how to deal with incompetent bullies.
Yes, yes, that is really very, very intriguing and fascinating. And, I get it. You are talking about, 89 or 87. Well, let's say at the very early beginning of the 90s, and it was probably different. But what about today, 2021? I can see here in Europe that there are lots and lots of burnouts, that there is long-term absenteeism, and very, very often, well, even in most cases, there is a correlation with bad management. And well, by bad, I mean a certain leadership style. Can
Correct.
you see this in the United States as well, even today?
Unfortunately, yes. As I said, I've worked as a consultant for many different organizations, and the one that comes to mind, the last time I worked with them was 2000 and what was that? 18, and they had asked me to do their keynote address 2 years running. So I did their keynote address 2 years running, and I did some training with them, and then I started working with them. And unfortunately, same thing. The CEO was the one that hired me, but also the one that was in competition with me. So the other people on staff actually got in touch with me and said, this is an excellent training. We love what you're doing. I was doing something called tribal leadership. We love what you're doing, but you're being sabotaged by the CEO because she doesn't really believe in it. And basically, it wasn't that she didn't believe in it. She was in competition with me, which backfired completely on her eventually, because, I did my 2 years with them, or 3 years with them. I think I left them with what I could leave them with. And then I heard that the next person that came, who she thought she was going to be partnered up with. So she basically turned me down to partner up with this woman. This woman came, took her job, and fired her.
Yeah, it is so, yeah, so
Bad.
interesting to observe. You know, she felt threatened by you, and it's so recognizable. I've been working as a consultant and as an interim manager for years in the corporate world, and as you might know, now I'm helping female managers to to thrive and to shine and to build towering self-confidence. And that is exactly what needs to be done. And I really want to help to to cultivate this new type of leadership style, a servant leadership style. And that's, I believe, something that the world needs very, very badly. And by the way, Tanya, what do you who do you consider as the most inspiring leader, and why?
Right now, it's Gary Vaynerchuk. And I've been following Gary for about 5 years. And what I love about him is that he is very clear that he serves his organization. He serves his employees, and he talks about it all the time. And he talks about things that, are quote unquote soft skills like empathy. He's just written a book called The 12 Things. Yeah. And, I love how he speaks to human beings, and he's got this multi-million-dollar company, but the guy is at all the staff meetings, right? It's like, he knows what it means to serve. And I love what you said about servant leadership, that The Path to Servant Leadership by Peter Sagan is one of my favorite books. I carry it with me all the time. And I remember, and every time I've ever gotten doubtful about this journey of leadership, I read that book again, and I'm right back. I am right back. So yeah.
That's fantastic, Tanya. And what do you see as your greatest leadership lesson, insight, wisdom, blessing, maybe?
Inside wisdom.
Or blessing, your greatest leadership or self-leadership insight, or wisdom that
Insight. Okay, I didn't hear what you said. Okay. My greatest leadership insight, I think, is very much like Gary Vaynerchuk and like Peter Sagan. It's, if you serve the client, you will always be in business. And if you have your focus on serving and service, then you can't go wrong, as far as leadership is concerned, because then you're going to, even if people are working for you or working with you, you are going to be collaborating and cooperating rather than competing every day. So yeah, that's my biggest piece of wisdom, that
Fantastic. That's awesome. And thanks for sharing this. And I'm very curious now. What do you consider to be your zone of genius? And by that I mean, your unique talents, knowledge, or maybe your unique qualities and traits. And would you like to share something about it?
Sure. Well, I know that my superpower is that I can hear what you're not saying. So as a coach and as a consultant, that is priceless, because a lot of times people are saying either what they think you want to hear or what they think you want the answer to be. So I've gotten very adept at being able to hear exactly what they mean and to ask questions that get me that response, so that we're not talking to each other from two different perspectives, right? You're talking because you want to look good. I'm talking because I'm trying to help you cause a breakthrough, and we're at cross purposes, right? So that's my superpower. And so what I'm really good at is communication and relationships. That's where I have always focused. It didn't matter whether I was working in this program, the mental health program, or whether I was working in an after-school program with kids in Copenhagen. It was, communication and relationships has been my thing since I graduated from college.
Exactly. And now, of course, thanks to your superpower, you are serving your clients and you are helping them to transform, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because again, what my clients need. So let me tell you a little bit about my client. You want me to tell you about my clients now? So this is what I do. I help successful and just as overwhelmed small business owners change their chronic time consuming habits so that they can reduce their work week to 40 hours or less. And that gives them 5+ hours or 5 and more hours of personal freedom per day so that they can enjoy the lives they work so hard for. So in my line of work, what I've noticed is that, and also being a small business owner myself, what I noticed during my second company was that I was getting just as overwhelmed the more successful I got. And I thought it's not supposed to be like this. It's supposed to be, the more successful you get, the more you get to delegate, the more you get, to pay for somebody else handling that. And it was I just felt like there was this tsunami that was about to swallow me. So, and interestingly enough, I was training on a leadership program at that same time. I'll come back to that because that caused a little bit of a ruckus. When I noticed that I was starting to get overwhelmed as at that point I was an executive coach. So I wasn't working with the business people yet. I started that in 2012 because I nearly burnt out. So then I developed this program that I run, or I developed a solution for small business owners to be able to reduce their work hours and get access to their freedom again, and be able to get that, ever elusive work-life balance reestablished in their lives. So I did it for myself. And then, my executive clients, funny enough, I don't know if they noticed I was just calmer or whatever, but my executive clients started asking me, do you do a time management piece? I was, funny you should ask, and then I told them what I'd just been through. And then, so I started working, one-on-one with my executive clients. And then when it got to the point where I wanted to be able to impact more people, I stopped doing one-to-one, and I created an online program 5 years ago. I had been doing this. I had been Zoom. I'd been on Zoom. That's how old I am. Okay. I had started doing my one-to-one coaching sessions over Zoom. Then we moved on to, I'm sorry, not Zoom, Skype. And then we moved on to the Zoom platform about 5 years ago. And about 4 years ago, I created this online program where I took everything and I, pretty much made it into a package so that people can do this as they work right? They can do the modules themselves, and then they can meet up with me on one-to-ones and group sessions so that everybody can learn from each other. So now I have the ability to work with more than one person at a time.
Fantastic, Tanya. Obviously, you have been investing a lot in yourself, and you did have mentors and coaches in the past, and you are even now still investing in yourself because we met in a mastermind in the
Yes.
States. So now, and obviously, you help your clients. I mean, you are their mentor and coach and sounding board.
Mhm.
Now, why would you recommend both of our audiences to invest in mentoring and coaching?
Oh boy. Well, first of all, because you can't coach yourself. And that was one of the first things I learned when I developed this program, and the solution is that you need mentors. You need someone that's going to be outside of you and that's going to either be able to observe you and hold you accountable, or also observe you and be able to support you in the parts that you are struggling with, right? And if you're trying to do that all on your own, you're missing the entire point, right? It's like, why would you want to work with people and tell people, hey, come work with me, and you're not working on yourself? That, to me, that's just crazy. That doesn't make any sense, right? The other thing is that there's always something more to learn. There's always another capacity to expand. And again, if you're just looking in the mirror or looking in the camera, you're not able to observe yourself. Most of us don't, have a camera looking at us all day long, right? And observing us. And if we did, I actually have a piece of my program that's called The Observer for that very reason, because you can't watch yourself. But if you could behave like you could watch yourself and you could flip on The Observer, you would see some behavior that would be shocking to you. You wouldn't even recognize yourself. I can't believe I did that. No, I did not do. I say I never do that, right? And then you catch yourself doing it. So when you have a coach or you have a mastermind like we're in with both coaches and group members, there's always somebody to ask, there's always support to get, and there's always accountability from your coaches where, they know how you've been going the whole year, or whether it's been a year and a half. I think I've been in our mastermind for like a year and 4 months now. So, I'm learning all the time, and it also helps me to not perfect, but hone my craft. That's the word I'm looking for. My coach told me the other day, and she's like, what you're doing, a lot of us are, I'm trying to look up the quote that she gave me because it was really good. Here it is. Yeah. She told me two things. This is what my coach told me. And I didn't know either of these two things. And I'm 61 and I've been in the game for a minute. Okay. So for me to hear these two things from my coach, it was like, yeah, that's why I have a coach. She told me leaders go first so that you can make all the mistakes and create the solutions for your followers, right? So that anybody that would work with you knows you've been there, you know what it's like, and you made all the mistakes so they don't have to go and make all the mistakes again. And the second thing she said, and I think this is the thing that I'm going to take to my grave, is I am developing mastery, not trying to be perfect, because perfection is a myth. It's not achievable, and chasing it takes all the fun out of your small business owner's game or whatever game you're up to. And I know that that's one of the things that I work with small business owners all the time, that there is no perfection. Stop chasing it because it's not fun. But developing mastery that just feels good. That just feels like, I just got my hands in the soil here. I've got my hands in my own clay, right? And I'm creating myself, but I'm developing mastery,
It's fantastic. This gives me goosebumps, Tanya, because it is so true, and two, it applies also to my audience, female managers. As you know, I help them to thrive and shine, and so it all applies to female managers in the corporate world as well. Well, to
Sure.
all managers, of course,
Right.
be it in the corporate world or be it business owners. This is really It's gold, what you just said. Absolutely. And
Wish I could take credit for it, but it was my coach that said it. I'm just repeating it.
yes, yes. So you see, that's why we need a coach and a mentor, because we can learn every day, and I love it. I am definitely willing to constantly learn and develop, and just like you,
Yeah,
and in that way, we are being a role model for our clients. That's what I truly believe.
yeah.
Now, if you could change one thing in the world, what would you change?
One thing.
I know that there are plenty of things that we would like to change.
Yeah.
If,
One thing is I would like to have our seeds back. Thank you very much. I'd like the planet to be able to reproduce its own food. I would like for us to go back to bio farming, where, you use things that make sense instead of all of these pesticides. That we would use bioorganic farming, so that you, instead of using a Roundup, then you just plant sage bushes next to whatever plant you are trying to grow, where the bugs come and get it, right? So there used to be a way to do this where we didn't have to poison our population in order to make a crop. So I would love to see that happen. I'm actually very interested in supporting that here in Puerto Rico. That we just found a place where they are doing farming like that, and that's what I want to use the profits of my business to support organic and biodynamic farming here on the island.
that's fantastic, and definitely there's a huge need. Absolutely, that's
Yeah,
really awesome, Tanya. Really fantastic, and I wish you lots and lots and lots of success with that.
thank you.
Now, in order to wrap up, maybe you already have given so much golden advice. What would be your golden nuggets with regards to self leadership and leadership? So your golden advice to both of our audiences.
Well, again, I did mention it before, is the core value piece, right? Whatever you're doing and whoever you're doing it with, make sure your core values are a match for what you're doing and for who you're doing it with. A lot of times, it's not that people are necessarily wrong and you're right. You may be in disagreement, but what I found working with tribal leadership is a lot of the time it's because we just come at things from different perspectives because we have different core values, right? So why bang your head against the wall working with someone whose core value is the opposite of yours? You're never going to convince each other. And that's the thing. Most of the time in staff meetings, when you find yourselves arguing and you're dug in, it's because your core value is playing out and the other person's core value is playing out. And the tribal leadership program that I used to lead was able to expose everyone's core values. And then you were able to get yourself linked up with people who are a match. And then you could link up other people who are another match and put them into different groups. And everything just was so smooth, because if you and I share the same core value, it's going to be easier for us to collaborate and cooperate. So, that's the thing for me. At the bottom of everything is core values. Yeah.
Values. So respect your own core values, and most probably also follow your heart and be unapologetically you, isn't it?
Absolutely. And again, when you find someone that you're, running into difficulty with, find out what their core values are. That'll smooth a lot of that stuff out, because then you guys won't be, competing or bumping heads over something that you just can't, you just can't bump heads about. You are raised the way you were raised, and you developed your core values, and they are valid for you. My core values are valid for me. And if we can find a way to either match our core values or to either respect them,
Yeah.
that's another way forward. So
And
that.
absolutely. And also grow towards each other, isn't it?
Sure.
Absolutely. Okay, great. Awesome. Well, this is really great. Thank you so much.
I've enjoyed it. This
Yeah,
was lovely.
me too. And I'm sure we could go on for hours.
We have done it other times, but we won't tell them. We won't tell
Yeah.
them.
So a last question, Tanya, where can people find you and how can they reach out to you?
Okay, so the best way to reach out to me is to join my group, because I'm not, I don't produce a lot of content and stuff like that. I do the work, and I do the work in the group. So the group is called the Art of Time Management for Small Business Owners. We're on Facebook. As soon as you see that, the Art of Time Management for Small Business Owners, just click the link, and then, you get in. And the two questions that I'm going to ask you are, what's the small business that you run, and what are your time management challenges and issues that you want support with, so that people will know when they get in this group, it's not, don't come looky-looing around us. We get to work. We do the work. And what's great about this group is not only are there people there who haven't worked with me, there are people in there who have worked with me, and they jump on the master classes all the time. And, then they give some feedback and they tell their story. So, it's the best of both worlds. It's people that know how to work, how they've regained their time. I've got people in there that are working 4-day work weeks, and have been doing so for 2 years. I've got people in there that, have reduced their work week to 40 hours or less and never went back. I have people there, I'm trying to think of the three main ones that are, oh yeah, they've stopped looking at items as urgent. They know the difference between urgent and important, so they're sticking to their schedules, losing weight, because they have time to actually do something that they enjoy doing. So it's a results oriented group. We're working in there. We're not just hanging out. So that's where I think people should, look for me. I would, I'll also leave a link. I'll give you a link. I'll send you a link where if you want to have a conversation with me, you can just go right straight to the booking calendar. It'll take you to my my website. You'll be able to see a few testimonials from people that have worked with me, what I've done in the past, and then, you can book a call with me. It'll ask you a couple of questions about, what is the problem? How long are you working? Are you working weekends? Are you working evenings? How long have you been doing that? So that I can set myself up to have a conversation for helping you to reverse that.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Tanya. We will also, put the links below this video so that people can find you.
Great.
Thank you so much for this inspiring leadership story. It was
Thank you.
a great pleasure to have you. You're so welcome. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you so much, Fabienne.
We'll be in touch later. Bye.
Will do. Bye-bye.